Hi everyone, welcome to Hot Dice. Today we're doing a Gothic basing tutorial. So I have them arranged here. So unfortunately from the Triumph of St. Catherine I got this amazing base, which I didn't record when I was doing it. It was an experiment, but I will show it on screen now. Savinia. It is a Triumph. Anyway, I will need to now replicate that across the entire army, so that's a disaster. But I have found a way of doing it quickly and easily and most importantly cheaper. So I think I could probably get away here base for about less than 50 cents. The more I do, the scales of economy brings that back down again because it is literally just plasticard. I'm using some Vallejo acrylic texture, but you can just use polyfiller. Just general filler DIY stuff that works fine as well. The only thing I would say that you need in addition, and why it costs about 50 cents a base, is I am using these AK Interactive Enamel Washers. There's two reasons for this. First one, I'm painting my whole Sisters of Battle army with this template. So that will help me tie the miniature in with the base, which gives you a really how do I put this? It almost looks like it's planned. But again, I'm going for that Grimdark look, and as you'll see, I think we get that. So yeah, I think they're about £4.50, what, maybe $6 a bottle. That'll last for ages because it goes so far. So anyway, let's just get into it. Okay, let's start with materials. I got some Vallejo ground texture here. You don't need this. You can use any kind of polyfiller, like I said, but I got this at a local hobby store. It was one of those, well, I'm here, I want to support the store, I didn't really want anything in particular at the time, so picked this up. And then I got this ground texture again. This is pebbles. These are from Zitadress, German company. But what I really like about these is if I get this lid off, yep, German, yeah, GmbH there, just little bit of jiggery, cut. Okay, right, so in here you've got three different textures, fine, medium, and then you can actually see the grey pebbles here. Just try and get a shot. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's really good natural variation, so that looks great on a base, and not too much effort to make that look real, so that's why I picked those up, and not too expensive. Again, another local hobby store purchase. So this was my prototype. You can see quite large slabs there, pretty basic, pretty plain, especially when you compare it to this where there's a whole load of details here. So I think it's safe to say I'm going to try something a little bit different with the rest of the bases. Here's my second attempt. So again, a little bit more detail. I've gone for like a parquet flooring to add a bit more interest to the base. It's a slightly bigger base, so that does help. This is for the Penitent engine. I'll be doing the 32mm bases here, but I've also added a bit of typhus corrosion into the gaps there just to add texture, but I'm not going to do that for the rest because that would be very expensive. I mean, texture paints are great, but not a very economic way of doing it. So yeah, with these guys I'm probably going to try the acrylics. So looking at this is what inspired me to start the project. Now, I've seen a lot of marble projects for this, fantastic tutorials for doing realistic marble, but I didn't really want to do that. I know the whole theme of the Grimdark Sisters of Battle was very much about that early Catholic Church, like the medieval period, and a lot of Catholic churches in Europe have got that clean marble flooring, but here in Northern Europe, the churches tend to have quite a dirty, ground down, granity, more naturally looking stone floor, and I kind of wanted to go for that, and plus it was a bit, just a bit grittier. So I've kind of gone for the similar dappling effect, but you'll see it's not quite as clean, but try and replicate that. That's the mission. So here we go. Here's the plasticard, the offending article, 1/2 mil. Let's get all this out of the way, knock the camera while I'm at it. Okay, right, so I'm going to line this up. I've got my cutting pad here. The great thing about these is you can see there's the markings there. They're about 10mm apart. Get my trusty rule. Did have a metal one, but my girlfriend's got it somewhere. So anyway, easy enough to cut. Light, regular cuts rather than trying to do it heavy because you'll slip and you'll cut yourself or the plasticard in the wrong place. Now this stuff's like 50p a sheet for an A4 slice. I mean, and each one of these cuts, it's got to be plenty enough. But that was quite thick, that one, so a little bit too thick. So that's what I did for this one. That was 10mm, and I kind of want to go for something a little bit finer. So yeah, again, I did the 10mm on here. You can see it's great for the bigger model like this, but I think when you get down to the standard size Space Marine or Sisters of Battle, they're going to be too big, and I'm going to lose that look I'm going for. So what I'm going to try and do is 5mm, so 1/2 centimetre. Just go and poke it in there a little bit, just eyeballing it. As long as it's even across, it won't look so bad. Again, lots of regular small cuts rather than trying to heavy-handed. Comes away easy enough. Another good reason to do it on a cutting board, so I should say a hobby mat. So you're just going to wreck your table. I know my table's not great. I have spilt a lot of inks over the years and paints, and it's knackered. I should probably give it a fresh paint, but I digress. I think I'm going to get a couple of these. I'm not sure how many it's going to take to do a base. So because this is my first attempt doing a 28mm or 32mm base. So I think 4 strips is going to be more than enough. Just pop that away over there. Here we go. So using the mat again, just not being too exact, pressing in. They are actually popping off pretty easy here. But I felt like I was pushing too hard, so I'm just going to scar it. Just press the blade in, and then it should, yep, just pops away. Nice and easy. I mean, it's only thin. So just going to repeat that. Finger dangerously close to the blade. There you go. Just score it. Introduce it. Yeah. I'm just experimenting here. How hard do I need to press? How long do I need to hold it? Do I need to score it across the whole thing? And eventually just play and you'll find the right thing. So yeah, confident now. Pressing it in. And again, like I said, these sheets are what, £1.50, so what, $2 a sheet. Probably get them cheaper anywhere. So it's not too bad if you mess one of these up. And plus, I think kind of want to make it look a bit ruined anyway. So if you do mess any up, keep them, don't throw them away. We'll add them to the base later. Okay, so I think that's enough. Collect them all here. I'm going to add some variation. So for this one, I'll have one that cuts across the base. So that just maybe looks like a change in the floor. So we'll have one pattern on one side and another on the other, just to give it that change, build it a realistic kind of look. You do see some pavement where they have that, so let's try it out. And my cutting was a bit clean, so I'm going to try and purposefully break one. There we go, and I can maybe use that in the pattern to look like it's damaged. Standard 20-year-old clippers from GW. Probably a better way to do it. Okay, so I'm going to use super glue. Now, in hindsight, super glue, terrible idea. Use plastic glue. Super glue sticks to your fingers way easier than it does to the plastic. This is absolute anarchy. I don't have tweezers. I recommend you get them, as you're about to see. Introducing these small pieces, I have to be ever so careful, but my fingers were getting stuck to these slabs and to the base constantly. It just made it a lot harder. Yeah, here we go. Get some tweezers. That's all I'm going to say. Oh god. Yeah, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Using the de facto clippers. See, I could cut this out, but then you wouldn't learn from my mistakes. So here we go. I'm going to experiment and put the broken one in. See if I can get that to work. But I do eventually get the hang of it. So stick with it, persevere, or use plastic glue, which is what I would recommend. It's a bit fiddly. So there is a lot trickier going for the smaller pieces. If you are finding it more difficult, just try to use larger pieces, or don't go for as complicated a pattern. But I really, because this is an experiment, I really wanted to go for the top thing I could, or the best approach I could, because I really like that parquet flooring. It's usually quite common brickwork here in Europe or in wooden flooring in some houses or much older houses, and it just adds that interest. The way older things tend to just be a bit more interesting when we seem to care about the way things looked rather than just going for economy. But yeah, I've learnt my lesson here. As you can see, it's come off a million times, but just trying to get it right. You'll find your own way. So great, but a bit. It was just so stressful. I felt like one base took me like an hour to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a normal parquet floor. I'm going to lay them out on the mat so I don't have to think about it as I'm putting it on. I don't want to make mistakes, especially when it's so difficult to correct. So I'm going to lay them out about the size of what I imagine a 28mm base cover. So you can use the squares as a guide since they're 10mm wide per square. Just arranging them, and then I can pick them off one by one and add them to the base. So, second step. I think it was as I was putting the super glue on, I realised I could probably use plastic glue. But I'm just scraping it on nice and thin there. And yeah, there we go. Using the clippers to introduce it with my hand, but then position it with something metallic. So, no, yeah, okay, yeah, you get the idea. Putting one of the broken tiles on. It does add quite a bit of interest. I think I'm probably going to have to put the texture on those to just sell the idea that it's broken, because I don't know how many tiles would break like that, or bricks or paving or whatever it is. But eventually I get there. You can see here's the full base covered. I've gone over the edges, as you can see. It's not a big deal, because what we'll do then later is we can clip that off once it's nice and secure. So this is where the super glue comes in handy, because the plastic card is actually really smooth, and the prototype you saw earlier was just no good. It just didn't look very realistic. So with the super glue, I'm going to scrape a layer all over the top of it like this, and then just mess it up. And then while it's drying, may as well add a little bit of texture. That will set into the super glue. The super glue will then dry on the flat surfaces with well, you know how it dries on your fingers, right? You get that gritty, uneven surface. It just adds a little bit of interest to the miniature. And I kind of wanted to place one of the biggest stones myself, so especially near one of the cracks. So I placed it near one of the cracks. Maybe it looks like some masonry's fallen from the ceiling, landed on a brick, snapped the brick. It just, it makes sense. If you see something broken, maybe you add something there that suggests when you look at it it's broken. You don't know you notice these things, but you do. And now I think the super glue's sufficiently dry. I'm going to go ahead with some of this earth texture. I don't want to put too much of this in, because it will eat away at the definition of the brickwork. So I'm just going to add it on here, where I've already added the typhus corrosion. Just put it a bit thicker in that miniature. Yeah, I'm happy with how that goes on, so here goes nothing. I'm going to put it in where the stones already are, because that's the natural place you think dust, dirt would settle. And I wasn't very happy with how I'd placed the stone there. It's not very clear, but where the one larger stone was sitting, it looked too proud. It looks too artificially placed. So by putting a little bit of the finer, almost like the paste type texture, it looks like it's settled in some dust a bit better. Yeah, I'm just taking off some of the excess stones while I'm doing it. So that's all dry now. So all I'm going to do here is go in with the clippers. It's not too tricky to do. Only 1/2 mil. I'm not being too careful. It doesn't have to be clean at this stage. I'm just getting rid of the excess, because you'll find what we'll do then is we'll go in with a hobby knife, and if there's too much, it's hard to get around, especially on a circle. So just clip it away, clip it down. I did want to save some of these pieces because they'll act as broken ones for future basing. Yeah, that's great. They've all stayed on. Super glue's done its trick. I suppose it should, since it's sandwiched between 2 layers of it. And then nice and careful, using the hobby blade, trying not to cut the black base beneath. Just peel away, staying close to the original black base. I want this to be quite clean because I kind of want to have that plinth effect. So that the model's standing centre stage and then all of the Grimdark is sitting atop it. Nice and easy. Take your time, because if you chip away at the black base beneath, it just looks a mess. You lose that, like I said, that plinth, that standing centre stage surveying its realm. It takes away from that because it looks rough and ready underneath. You see I'm on my second pass here, so just do a couple of rounds. A little bit each time. The less you do, the easier it is to take off. And each time I've done it, I've made it a little bit rounder, a little bit smoother. So, yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so now, those are the 4 bases. Obviously, the one on the bottom right there, I do clip that away. But what we're going to do now is take it down to the Hot Dice workshop, where I'm going to do all my spraying. I don't do it at my hobby desk. You can see the 2 larger ones, the 2 smaller ones, and I'm actually really happy with the small parquet effect. So here we are, just going to lay them all down. They're going to need just a base coat. So I'm going to go from dark to light, because I want to have dark colours in the recesses. So straight on with some black spray. It goes on, and it's hard to tell from this image, but once that's dried, you see the texture come through straight away. Now then I'm going to go over it with some darker grey. This armour painted grey is actually quite dark, which is good. We'll get a bit of a transition. And I've gone over it there with an old hand towel. Dry hand wet wipes. Dry them out, wrap them around, tear them up, and you get this gradient, so I put some white on there. And then back to the hobby desk. So there's the gradient I'm talking about. There's a bit of fluff left on there. That's because I didn't let the grey dry before I placed it on. But that uneven grey and white looks a bit harsh there. You think, that's awful, I don't want that. Don't worry, that all gets completely lost when you start this washing now. Yeah, there you go. It was just to create variation. That's how I've done that original base. That dappled effect. I've stolen it from the marble technique. This won't look like marble, but it will make it look natural. So here we're going in with the AK Interactive Streaking Grime, Enamel Washers. They have to be enamel for this. Or I'm sure you could try others, but for this particular technique it works. I've got like one for grey stone and one for green metalwork. So I'm going to use the grey one first. So this is going to age the stones and tie it all in together. Trusty white spirit, because the enamel will come off with white spirit, and that's how I'm going to get that transition. Yeah. Okay, so the palette, that's just to thin down the enamel. But I think I'm just going to do a test to see if straight's good enough. Yeah, it's going on actually quite thin, so I'm not going to need to water this down. So straight out of the bottle. It's a brownie colour. So this is going to be my foundation. So I've used these on the miniatures. So the Sisters of Battle miniatures I've already painted, this is actually used as a wash, so this will really tie the whole thing together later. So by using the same colours in the base that you do in the model, it looks like it belongs. It adds it. It's got the same kind of light. It's like it's got the same lighting. It's in the same environment. But I'm being pretty generous with this, because the beauty of this stuff is it will all come back off again with white spirits. Trying to get a reasonably even distribution. Again, it doesn't matter too much. So quickly finish off the others. Touching it up. Now this stuff dries super quick. So as I'm just touching up, there's only 4 bases there, the first one will already be dry. So going into the white spirit stage, I've got my trusty earbuds, dipping it in the white spirit, taking off excess off screen. I've got a rag, no need to see that. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag that across the base. Very light. I've got very little white spirit on this. It's not very wet. So that's just going to be the way I'm trying to emulate like natural looks. So things are going to be dragged across the floor. Rain's going to be falling. It's going to run in a direction. So I just want to, if you look at stones, they're not exactly stained smoothly. So bits are going to be worse than others. I'm just going to drag it across. There's no rule here. I'm experimenting. So what I'll find is I'll take a bit off and I go, maybe I need to take a bit more, maybe I need to take a bit less. If you take too much off, just put more back on. Just open the enamel bottle, just put it back on. Okay, I feel like I haven't quite put enough white spirit there. It's not really taking it off enough. So I'm just going to try and clean these up a bit. Experimenting to see if I can do a dabbing rather than a streaking. I actually really quite like that. Streaking works better, I think, on the step, because I think in my mind that's where things are getting dragged or pouring off. See if we can get a good look at this for you. Yeah. See, as it dries, and then I go back in with the white spirit, it comes off a bit easier each time. I think the tip of the earbud is just getting a bit saturated with the enamel wash. You can use a brush for this as well, an old brush, a large one. I find it actually works better for these enamel washes on miniatures. But here I actually don't mind the lack of control you get with this earbud. As it starts to degrade, starts to fray, I'm going to lose the precision and hopefully gain a little bit of a natural look. So I'm going to leave that, come back to it, and just go on to the next one. Again, streaking across, not being too careful. Try this way, try that way. Where I think the streaking's too defined, maybe go back in and just blur it a little bit. Yeah, you can see it's a lot smoother with each pass, because I'm using so little. I don't want actual scratchiness. I can just go over it and over and over and over it, and eventually I'm getting that. Okay, so I'm happy with how much I've removed. Now I'm going to dapple it. This one's a much flatter surface. There isn't a step in this one. I built a step into the previous one. So I will have streaks, but I want them to be a little less defined. just speed up the footage a little bit. You get the idea with the brown or the winter streaking grime. These are a little bit trickier to do, these small bases, because I've added probably a little bit too much texture to this one in particular. I have to do the dabbing. I think in future I won't be doing that. In terms of I won't be doing so much texture. Less is more. I've lost quite a lot of the effort I've put in. All that parquet plastic card's gone. Not only from the stones and pebbles, but also from the ground paste, the acrylic. So I think one last pass over with the white spirits. Now this one's dried. Just try and lighten it up. Bring through the grey. And then we're going to move on to the dark green streaking grime. So this stuff's great. Not only does it add that green, which is going to look like organic growth, say moss and other bits of organic material growing between cracks that you'd see, but it's also going to stain the stone where it's lighter and where the transitions occur. So it's going to create, actually you'll see now it's a bit more of a grey colour when it's over the brown, which is great because it almost gives it that feathering look. And I'm being pretty generous with this. The more and more I use this enamel wash, the more confident I get with it, because I know no matter what I do, I can always take it back off again. See, I would be nervous about doing this with a standard acrylic wash. I'd go on, I think, oh my god, you can see the defined lines, it doesn't look very natural, but you can do the feathering of the white spirits. Just take off those hard edges and run out the colours and smooth them out into the rest. So I'm going to try going in a bit wetter here, leaving it dry a little bit, but I find if you use the white spirits on the slabs as they are, the enamel washes, it's wet, get slightly better results in terms of smooth transitions colour. See if I can add to the streaking. Yeah, you can see it's a lot darker than just going over and over and over again with the same colour. Use different colours. And I'm sorry I'm not bringing it up to the camera here, it's quite tricky to do. I'm feeling a bit more confident I can hold the base securely while I do the streaking. Yeah, I'm loving how I'm getting that really dark streak down the centre. That's that greyish green. That just looks so natural. Okay, so that's the whole process from manufacture to painting and finishing. It's pretty simple. I think I got better as I went along. This is the end result on the screen. These are the 4 bases. You'll see that the transitions are really smooth. There's no need to worry about putting too much on, or the streaking wasn't quite right, because you just go in and fix it with the white spirits, which is fantastic. Sorry, my cat's joined me for this part. So if we move on to the bit here where I've actually got the models on the bases. They look fantastic on there, they pop, it looks like it's in a diorama almost. And next to the original base, which is the Triumph of St. Catherine base, which was the inspiration for the whole project, they tie in. So that was ultimately the goal. I didn't want it to look like an afterthought, like I thought, oh, you know, I can't live up to that. So I'm really pleased with that. So here's a close-up of the Penitent engine that I've actually painted since finishing the editing for this video. So there is actually a tutorial for this exact model coming up soon, but I wanted to throw it in there now so you could see how, I think, well, hopefully you can see how the model really gets married into that base. Using the same washes in the base and in the model has just made it look like it was always meant to be. I think that's got something to do with the fact that the lighting, it gives the illusion that the lighting's consistent throughout, like it's in a scene. And like I said, you get that kind of diorama feel. So anyway, that's all to look forward to. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.